So, welcome back, and thank you very much for registering to the upcoming webcast. I do not believe I'm hyping things up or using hyperbole when I tell you this is going to be a life-changing experience for your career. Bodacious claim, I know, but I say that because I've been in this industry for 26 years. The first several meetings that I had introducing at the time NCNB securities, the participants in the meeting were surprised that I wasn't talking about counterfeit checks and bank fraud. They had confused securities with security. And I had to explain to them that I was the stock bond mutual fund guy, to which back then the common response was, oh, didn't even realize we did that. Good to know. Now, the good news for me back then was I was working with a clear canvas. I could paint on it anything that I wanted to, assuming that I could inspire my team to follow through, which thankfully I was able to do exactly that. For the last 20 years, I've been coaching and advising others. For a couple of years as a mutual fund wholesaler, and then for 9 years as senior management in what became Nations Bank and Bank of America. And for the last 11 years as a peak performance coach, working one-on-one and in groups with advisors in a bank setting who want to go beyond the next level. I mean, let's face it, you'll get there. Continuing doing what you're doing, add some new fee-based money, continue collect trailers, keep your nose clean, and you're going to reach the next level. I'm working with people who want to go beyond that to the highest level they desire to achieve. As I mentioned in the last video, I've worked with lots of advisors, including 8 of the top 10 in the industry, according to at least one magazine, and also the most successful financial advisor who's ever practiced in a bank setting. I was with him the year that he jumped from $3.8 million in production to $6.6 million in production. And yes, he did do that in a single year. But I know you're not interested in me or my successes. You're interested in you. So let's turn to this tutorial with a little homework assignment that I would like you to accomplish before getting on to the webcast. And as I said in the last video, I'm going to talk about these particular questions on the webcast, but you have the opportunity to make the conversation that we'll be having about this very specific to you, meaningfully specific, as opposed to it just being a wandering generality and you wondering whether or not this applies to you or not. So here are the questions that I would suggest that you ask. And these are baseline record-keeping information, give you an idea of where you stand right now. And if you don't like the answers, which I suspect you won't, know that that simply means you've got even more of an upside. Because let's not forget, if the answers that you get back stink and you think, oh my God, this is really awful, you're still achieving the level of success that you're achieving right now, which is, I assume, because you're interested in improving it, is probably higher than average. Imagine what the difference will be when your bank partners are finely honed machines and are positioning you powerfully and differently from everybody else that's out there doing what it is that you do, so that when the prospect shows up to your office, they are already predisposed to doing business with you. It is truly a game changer. So I'll give you the 3 questions, and I'll give you examples of common answers that you're likely to hear back. And at the end, I will give you an idea of what you can do today between now and the webcast to start building your momentum, to get a little bit ahead of the curve, to get an early start on solving this particular problem in your practice. So here are the questions. The first one that I like to ask is, what does my ideal client look like? Now, you can alternatively ask, although I don't personally like this question better, but a lot of people do use it. What do you think that I do? Or what are the problems that you feel like I solve for investors? If you've never asked a question like this before, I would stick with, what do you think my ideal client looks like? Because it's a little bit less of an intrusive type question, and you won't get the defenses going up quite as aggressively with your bank partner. Now, I can tell you from having asked that question literally thousands of times, the likely response that you're going to receive is going to be one of two things. Either somebody with a lot of money, it's an ingredient, but that's not really your ideal client profile, or the dreaded somebody that's looking for a better rate. If being positioned as a rate specialist is a recurring theme as you ask these questions, you truthfully should get very excited because you have nothing but upside. That, in my mind, is the absolute worst way to possibly be positioned, not only in a bank setting, but anywhere for that matter. Question number 2 is the conversational catalyst. And the question that you can ask is, what has to happen in a conversation before you bring me up to whoever it is that's sitting in front of you? I recently opened a new business account at a very large, well-known national commercial bank. And the advisor who covers that branch is a good friend of mine who I've known for 25 plus years. He hadn't hired me to shop his banker, but hey, what the heck, I was there, right? And here's the thing. It took me 5 attempts to get referred to investments. And in this particular case, the catalyst that got me referred was saying, I've seen some of your commercials. You guys do investments here as well. If I wanted to talk about that, who would I talk to? Like I said, it was my 5th attempt. I was getting a little bit desperate. Now, needless to say, the vast majority of your potential prospects are not going to work that hard to be referred. But here's the other thing. Once she did finally refer me, she did it very well, very powerfully. It wasn't perfect, but it was significantly above average. But here's the thing that you got to wonder. How many prospects for this particular financial advisor are sitting in front of this banker without the dogged persistence to actually be referred? So that's why this is the second question that you want to ask. What has to happen in a conversation for you to bring me up? And the third question is, when you're sitting in front of my ideal client and you decide that you are going to bring me up, how do you position me in the mind of that prospect? And again, this is just baseline record keeping. This is where you will find out, where do you stand today? And that information will make the time that we spend together on the webcast significantly more valuable. And if you really want to dive into this process to make the most of the rest of this year and get off to a really fast start for next year, I want to offer you at a significant discount for having signed up for this webcast a library of resources that are going to make a dramatic difference in your life. The first 2 are the Building the Ultimate Bank Advisor book and audio pack. And I recommend that you buy them together because when you're listening to the audio, which it is a book on tape, it's basically me reading the book, you'll hear me positioning these questions and the trainings that I take you through and the interviews with the clients that you'll have, all live on tape. It's me asking those questions, so you'll be able to pick up on the inflection and a lot of the other nuances that you're simply not going to get from reading. However, I also think it's a smart buy to grab the book. Because if there is a particular part of the book that is ultra meaningful to you, how much better is it to go to the book and see a transcript of what it was you just heard me say? So you'll never have to worry about being on a way to an appointment and hearing something that particularly resonates to you and wanting to stop and rewind so you can write it down and do all of that. You'll have all of it in written form as well. And these two programs, the book and the audio, are written for somebody who already knows how to run an advisory business, but is now doing it in a bank setting. And the audience that I was really writing this for was somebody who had just left one of the major wirehouses, has gone into a bank program, already has core competencies, but now wants to add that additional effectiveness layer on top of it. And it talks about 8 essential keys that you must master. And this is the core of my year-long coaching program in order to make the most, to create the most leverage in your life if you are building your practice in a bank setting. So those are the first 2 resources. The third is the book Unleashed, 7 Magical Steps to the Ultimate Banker Referral. This will be a guidebook to take you from where you are, again, beyond the next level, because you get there anyway, to the highest level that you'll desire to achieve. And if we do begin to work together at some point, my goal from you is to be so powerfully positioned that you are so powerfully positioned by your bank partners that when a client sits down, the assumption is they're going to do business with you, that they will open up and say, here's where I am, here's where I want to be. I understand you are an expert in helping me get there. And I know from live events when I make that statement, again, a bold, audacious claim, I know the normal reaction is some chuckles, some guffaws, some rolling of the eyes. But let me tell you, if you do join me on this journey, you're going to be following in the footsteps of some of my very best coaching clients. They are my live and living research and development team. They are the resource that I use to make sure that I'm staying current, because I'm not sitting in a banking center anymore. And the good news is they've already done this. They have cleared the path for you. They've filled in all of the potholes. They've killed all of the snakes. We are about as close to making this quote-unquote idiot-proof as is possible. So if you want to get a jump start on these programs, you can buy all 3 of those at more than 50% off. $89.95 gets you all 3. Retail value on those is just a little under $194. This literally is a bargain that you can't see anywhere else. You can read about them below. If you want to buy multiple quantities of those, my suggestion would be shoot me an email and tell me about your situation and we'll work something out. However, the real power of this is going to be on the webcast in the full immersion. If you grab these resources, they will help you get prepared so you make the most of our time together, and they will help you implement the ideas that you're talking about as well. So thanks again. I will see you on the webcast, and I hope our paths cross again soon and often. And in signing off, let me just say everything that you are consciously aware of is awaiting you at your next evolution. So evolve. I'll see you on the webcast. Bye-bye for now.